Hi Year 7, Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 7 Humanities. This lesson we are looking at developing our understanding of the Dark Age. So that was the period in history after the Minoans and the Mycenaeans, after the Bronze Age, because they had bronze tools and weapons. In the Dark Age, they had nothing. We had nothing. There's no evidence, no information to go off. It was basically a collapse of civilization. So we're learning about that, and we're learning about specifically the environment and the geography of ancient Greece, because that's really the only way we can learn about the Dark Age, because there's no written evidence, no physical evidence. So instead we look at the land itself. So looking at the environment and the geography of ancient Greece and how it influenced civilization. So Mycenaean civilization lasted hundreds of years, so from 1600 to 1200 BCE. However, around 1150 BCE, ancient Greece suffered a violent and sudden collapse of culture, language, and life, all of it gone overnight. The Dark Age lasted almost 400 years, and there's almost no knowledge of this time in world history. Written language disappeared, so you can't get any written evidence from history from this period. It's gone. We forgot how to read and write. Buildings were destroyed, so we didn't have any strong building materials or tools or technology, so there's no long-lasting structures from this time period. And that's left historians and archaeologists with very few primary sources of historical evidence. So how do we learn about ancient Greece in the Dark Ages if there's no evidence, no primary sources? The answer is by studying the geography and the land itself of ancient Greece. So the landscape, the climate, natural resources. By doing this, we can learn about how people would have lived in this period of history. So we can't find evidence of the people, but we can find evidence of the land where they lived. And we'll look at that this lesson. In ancient Australia, we saw the impact of the changing environment on the indigenous Australians. So they were a nomadic civilization. So nomad, no home. They would travel across the country in search of food, water, depending on the changing seasons and the changing environments. So we've already seen the impact that an environment can have on an ancient civilization. The civilization of ancient Greece, both before and after the Dark Age, were heavily influenced by the very mountainous environment of the region. I don't know if you've been to Greece yourself. I haven't, but one of my best mates is from Greece. He was born in Athens. And he will tell you what I'm telling you right now. Lots of mountains. It's very hilly, very mountainy, not a lot of flat land. In fact, if you look at that map down the bottom there, 75%, so 3/4, of the mainland of Greece is covered in some sort of mountains or hills, basically. So that map, basically anything that's orange is something that isn't flat. It's either a really big mountain or it's like a small hill. So 75% of the mainland covered in mountains. So how would that impact the way that they live their life? How would the environment impact the development of their civilization? Well, for one thing, it meant that settlements were isolated from each other. It's easy to just kind of walk across the room to someone who's right there. If I have to go over a mountain, I'm probably not going to see them very often. It's going to be very difficult to trade with my neighbors. It also means that there's very little farmland available, and farms equal food, and food equals happiness. So if there's no farmland available on the land, how are we going to get food? We can go fishing, obviously, but is that going to be enough to serve an entire civilization? What happened is the environment of the region led the ancient Greeks to sea. So because you need flat land with good soil, good rain to farm, to grow food, they went out to the ocean to find other people who had found food. So while there was little farmland, villagers grew some crops and raised some animals, and what they did was they would trade these with other regions and civilizations via ships. The ancient Greeks were a very, very strong naval people, very good at sailing around the Mediterranean Sea. So, there is evidence to suggest that during the Dark Age, the people living on mainland Greece, so this bit here, so we had the Minoan civilization down the bottom right at the start of ancient Greece, so they were on the island of Crete. Then the Mycenaeans from the mainland came over, kicked them out, now they're in charge. Now it's the Dark Age, and most of them are still living there, kind of remnants of the Mycenaean age. But during the Dark Age, the people on the mainland migrated to the Aegean Islands and the coast of Asia Minor, which is modern Turkey. So it's a bit difficult to see on this map. I have stolen it from your textbook. But basically what's happened is, again, we've gone from here, mainland Greece, and kind of just traveled throughout these little islands here. Because we don't have enough food here, we're going to go down here to the coast of Turkey and these islands. The travel and trade during this stage of world history provided these people with iron-making skills, tools, and weapons, which was an upgrade from the Bronze Age. This technology would be significant in moving ancient Greek civilization out of the Dark Age. So that's why we've gone from the Bronze Age with the Mycenaeans, the Minoans, Dark Age, and we're slowly working our way towards the Iron Age. Ancient Greece did not invent iron-making, however. It reached their civilization as a result of their location and their environment. So because of the mountains in ancient Greece, because of their environment, they were forced to travel. And when you travel, you meet new people. They have new ideas, you can share that information, trade supplies, and that's how they discovered iron-making skills. And that's what got them out of the Dark Age. The Mediterranean Sea kind of places them in the middle of everything in terms of like trade routes. So they're in the middle of the shopping center. So everyone comes through their backyard to go buy things and sell things. And then the mountains, of course, on the mainland cause people to rely on sea travel and trade. You meet people, you share ideas, new knowledge. Final slide. The development of iron tools and weapons increased travel trade between regions, and importantly, the creation of a common Greek alphabet in 800 BCE. Remember, at the start of the Dark Age, everyone forgot how to read and write. It sounds silly, but it's true. We lost all written language for hundreds of years. But 800 BCE, we've developed a common Greek alphabet that all the Greek people in the region, all the Greek people in those different islands, spoke, which means that we can share ideas, speak to each other, communicate, work together, get out of the Dark Age. So that lifted them out of the Dark Age into what we call Archaic Greece. So Archaic Greece was from 750 to 490 BCE. As civilization recovered and population increased, this forced even more migration. So we've had people on the island of Crete, then they traveled to the mainland, then Dark Age, poof. Now we're forced to go search for some food through these tiny little islands. But as the people recovered, more people needed to go out and find new homes, basically. And where they went was even further south. So Italy, Sicily, and the Black Sea, which is, again, Turkey. The most significant development out of Archaic Greece was the creation of city-states. So the people of ancient Greece had traveled and settled so far that it was impossible to have one ancient Greece. You couldn't just have one king in charge of all those tiny little islands, because you would be born, you would die, you would live your entire life without knowing who that king was, without ever seeing him. It was just impossible to have one unified nation. So instead, what happens in Archaic Greece, and what would happen for the next thousands of years, was ancient Greece had 1,000 city-states that developed. So very, very tiny, essentially one city-state. It'd be like the state of Melbourne, the state of Sydney. And each of those city-states was different. They each had different governments, different values, different cultures, etc., etc. Sometimes those differences would lead to violence, but we'll get to that in a later lesson. And this civilization structure, again, shaped the future of ancient Greece. Evidence of the influence of our environment on history. So, now that you know a little bit about the Dark Age, about those city-states, about ancient Greek culture, I should mention probably that map, though. Hard to read, you might have to zoom in or find this picture. But all those names are city-state. That's quite a lot of different states of ancient Greece. It'd be like if you looked at a map of Victoria, instead of like Geelong, Bendigo, Box Hill, even all those little suburbs, Glen Waverley, they were all now states. So they each had their own flag, their own king. So, for our lesson activities today, I'd like you to read through chapter 5.4. So it's a couple pages in your textbook, and answer the following questions. I've actually just lifted a screenshot of these questions from the textbook, so you can go find them in your textbook. But what you're looking for is chapter 5.4, exercise 1. So there's going to be a list of questions in exercise 1 and 2. First questions are coming from exercise 1, check your understanding. And you're looking at questions 2, 3, and 4. Question 2, what is meant by the Greek Dark Age? So what was the Dark Age? Question 3, what happened, what became of the Mycenaean cities and writing and written language in this period? Question 4, to which areas did Greeks migrate during the Dark Age? So that's pretty straightforward stuff that you can get from the slides and from chapter 5.4. This question's a bit higher understanding, bit of an extension question, which is why it's applying your understanding, not just checking it. Question 4, using all of the sources in this subtopic as evidence, so using all the pictures and maps and words in chapter 5.4, explain why Greece became a country of independent, self-governing city-states that often fought each other. So why did we end up with this instead of just one big Greece with one state, basically? So why do we end up with all those city-states? And why do you think those city-states in the future might have conflicts, might have war or arguments over things, basically? And that's all you're doing today, guys. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Thank you to everyone who has completed the Ancient Australia Dev, by the way. And I'll get my results up on Compass as soon as possible. But if you have questions about the results, about the Dev, or about the Greece topic, please let me know. Otherwise, best of luck. Hope you're well, and cheers.